The woman who went into hiding after travelling around Northland with another woman who tested positive for COVID-19 has been found by police. She was located at a West Auckland house, taken into custody under Section 70 of the Health Act. She's being moved into an MIQ hotel. The other woman who tested positive is now in quarantine in Auckland, but is refusing to cooperate and reveal where she travelled and whom she came into contact with. Comes a day after mandatory vaccinations were introduced for health and education workers. Joining us now is the National Party's COVID-19 spokesperson, Chris Bishop. Kia ora.
Good morning.
That's good news, actually, that they've located the other woman, is it not?
Yeah, it is good news. We've just now got to try and get some information out of her as to where she's been and what she's been up to, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, it's good news. And I think people will feel pretty relieved by that.
Do you know how one would get information out of somebody who says no?
Well, I mean, ultimately, you just have to rely on good faith. And
I think that's gone out the window, hasn't it?
Well, it looks like it. I mean, ultimately, we don't do torture in this country, so
no waterboarding allowed. No.
No. So we've just got to hope that these people want to cooperate.
But they don't. So then what happens?
Well, I'm sure the police will be considering potential charges.
I don't know. We were just talking about that. Can you charge somebody for refusing to disclose where they've been?
Well, I don't know is the short point, but I'm sure the police will be looking at those matters, and that's ultimately a decision for them.
We'll talk to Ashley Bloomfield about that a little later, actually. Oh, have you gone away? Chris Bishop seems to have disappeared. We'll try and get him back. We wanted to talk about the National Party's view on the mandatory vaccinations. Are you back, Mr. Bishop?
I am. I don't know what happened there.
I thought you'd hung up on me. Mandatory vaccinations, you will be happy with those, but I suspect you think they should have gone further.
We are comfortable with it. I mean, look, it's a tricky decision. The healthcare worker issue is, I think, a bit of a no-brainer. I mean, it was possible up until the decision was made for someone who was working on a COVID patient in a hospital to not be vaccinated. I think most people would think that's a bit nuts. And so we welcome that. And obviously aged care is also a real area of concern because you're dealing with vulnerable populations, elderly people. So that's obvious. Teachers is more tricky. The starting point that I come from, and a lot of people I think would come from, is bodily autonomy is important, freedom of choice. The state is not normally in the business of imposing medical procedures on people like vaccinations. However, you're dealing with countervailing rights here. You're dealing with kids who currently can't be vaccinated, and of course the evidence is that teachers can really spread COVID to young people, and of course young people don't have a consent issue in relation to that. And of course we want to get them back to school. So we support the teacher mandate. It's a tricky issue, and I think the government acknowledges that, but on balance it is the right thing to do, and it's necessary because we've got to get those kids back to school.
What about mandating vaccinations beyond health and education?
I would be reluctant beyond that, to be honest. As I say, healthcare, I think there are some clear risk factors that you throw into the analysis and you say, yep, that makes sense. Teachers as well, because young people can't at the moment be vaccinated and there are real vectors for Delta spreading. But beyond where we've got to, I would be uncomfortable in relation to that, and I wouldn't say it would be a justified limit on the right to refuse medical treatment.
You mean bodily autonomy cuts in after health and education?
Yeah, that's my sense. I'm not going to rule it out, supporting it for other sectors or groups, but that's my general sense. We've got to remember that the Bill of Rights Act protects bodily autonomy and against unwarranted medical treatment that you don't choose. It's a pretty big thing.
So you're not in favour of compulsory vaccinations? Vaccination certificates, no?
I'm in favour of vaccination certificates because that's the proof that you have made a willing choice to get vaccinated, and you need to be able to prove that. That's a different thing from the state saying to you, you have to be vaccinated. That's a big thing for the government to do, and I think we need to be very, very cautious and reluctant to use that.
Interesting. Thank you. Chris Bishop is the National Party's COVID-19 spokesperson.